Hi, my name is Torrefranca, and I thought I'd do a bit more of a casual video today. I've got a ton of books stacked over here. Some of these books I have written myself, and others were written by other authors whose work I published through my publishing house, Lost Island Press. First up is Leaving Wishville. This was the book that started everything. I had a phase in my life where I was really into video editing. I was watching a lot of storytelling channels like Luke Korn's and Natalie Lynn. I ended up making my own YouTube channel, and then it kind of became a platform for me to talk about what I was working on with my book. For some reason, people liked tuning into that, and by the time I released Leaving Wishville, I had a little bit of an audience, which I wasn't expecting. It was also really exciting because not too long after I published this book, it was adapted into a short film, which I co-wrote with Sebastian Delgado. He directed it.
I was just about to take a walk.
A walk? Just a nice stroll out of Wishville? Gonna stop by the next town over? A can of beans. Oh my god, Benji, you're a mess.
Okay.
Now, soon after the publication of this book, I also received a DM from Katie Flanagan. She was excited about Lost Island Press and wanted to help me out in any way she could. At the time, Lost Island Press was just an imprint or a name to publish under. So essentially, if you self-publish a book, you can create your own publishing name, your own publishing logo, and it kind of also helps cloak, I guess, the fact that you're self-published. I took coming up with this name very seriously, Lost Island Press. It's really a name that's associated with Leaving Wishville, which is kind of a lost island. But that message that I received from Katie was really inspiring. It got me thinking a lot. I decided to open submissions for the first time and turn Lost Island Press into more than a name for my own books, but an actual indie publishing house. That is when I hosted our very first writing contest. Like I said, I had my YouTube channel, so I was really lucky to have an audience, and there were quite a few writers who wanted to publish with me. Katie and I read through tons of books over the course of just a few months. We met on a FaceTime call. She was telling me about one of hers that she read, which was My Brother's Spare by Shira Bohr. It's right back here. That night, I read through most of the book. I was hooked. Pretty soon, we had the contract signed, and Shira was our very first author at Lost Island Press, apart from myself. She even made a video about her experience with winning our 2020 contest. I actually had an opportunity to meet Shira in person, which was so cool. We went to the beach. It was just a fun time. Her debut novel, My Brother's Spare, was released a month apart from my second novel, Capsule. So these were kind of the same era. I actually got together with some high school classmates who I hadn't even seen in a while. We filmed a book trailer for this. I am not an expert at creating like movie book trailers and stuff, but I did my best. Woke up early, picked everyone up, we went to the beach, we filmed it. I had some friends behind the scenes and my brother helping behind the scenes, so it was just very crazily thrown together by a bunch of teenagers.
2 students from Brookwood High School, Peter Moon and Kat Pike, were reported missing on Friday night.
There were so many reviews before the book even came out. Obviously, some books do way better than Capsule did. I'm not saying this was like a massive success, but in terms of what I was used to with Leaving Wishville, it just blew my mind. Like, wow, why are so many people reading and reviewing my book? It's not even out. I wasn't expecting this. Then, that same year that Capsule and My Brother's Spare came out, I hosted another writing contest. The contests usually last multiple months because there's a few months for people to submit, and then it takes a few months to get everything finalized, right? While we were still going through manuscripts and finalizing everything, I published a book called Minefield. This was my first novella, and it was published in, I think, January of 2022. I don't, unfortunately, have a copy on hand. That was, a fun project. I really wanted to challenge myself to focus on honing my writing style because it was a relatively short story, not too complicated of a plot, so I could really just focus on how I wanted to weave my words together. Moving forward, we finally chose our winners for the contest. I'll talk about the first winner, Amanda Michelle Brown, who won with her submission of The Memory Jumper. I think it was the project where I met Alexandra from Mad Book Covers. We might have gotten the design for Nightshade Academy first, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it was around the same period of time where I first met Alexandra, and she does a lot of our covers at Lost Island Press. She also created a floor plan for the interior of the book, which is gorgeous. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from over there. Not too long after we published The Memory Jumper, we had the publication of the book from another winner, Julia Rosemary Turk, who is the author of the Lone Players series. We decided to publish The Memory Jumper first since it was a standalone. When you're writing a series, the first book, the foundation has to be really strong because you're building everything else around it. This was such a fun project, and it was actually our second cover that was a 3D cover. Leaving Wishville, Memory Minefield, those are both relatively flat covers. Capsule was the very first cover that was 3D, so Lone Player was officially our second 3D cover, and as you can see, it is a very detailed cover. So it was the first cover at Lost Island Press that we've really done in this style, and Alexandra did an amazing job. So this is the same designer, guys. She just can pull off so many different styles. I'm just so glad that I met her during that time. Let's move on to Nightshade Academy. I was working on Nightshade Academy soon before I left for Thailand. I ended up rewriting a lot of aspects of Nightshade Academy based on the experiences that I had in Thailand. I did Muay Thai mostly. That one I actually did consistently, but I did have a week of dual sword fighting and a week of Kung Fu. I incorporated kind of my experiences from these different martial arts into Nightshade Academy to write this martial arts style story, which is kind of old style fantasy. There's no guns, no magic. It's like poison, swords, old-fashioned tools, they call them. Nightshade Academy was also designed by Alexandra, who designed the Memory Jumper and the Lone Player series. And then this one was by Natasha Orsh. I found her work on Instagram. I fell in love with it, and I think it pairs very well with the kind of more minimalistic style of the main series. Once I commissioned this art for Maelin, I just knew there was no stopping me. I was definitely going to be writing this spin-off. So I wrote the prequel novella. I just love the characters so much. And the really exciting thing about Maelin is that I had an entire animated short film that was one of the most amazing things ever. I just wanted to capture the overall feeling of this story, but you just have to watch it. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's not a big time commitment if you're curious. So next up we have Cut Deck, which is also designed by Mad Book Covers, and this is the second book in Julia's Lone Player series. I really loved the editing process for this one. By this time, I was starting to get a lot of systems in place. Lone Player and Nightshade Academy was when I started formatting books at Lost Island Press myself and really getting a sense of what I want the style for Lost Island Press to be. I don't know how long I'll be able to format all the books myself, but if possible, I would like to because I really love the formatting process. Very recently was the release of Underground Royalty. The cover's kind of scuffed up on this one. This is the second book in my Belladonna series. I'm really happy with the responses of how it turned out. My beta readers gave me a lot of confidence in this kind of crazy switcheroo that I wanted to pull off, and I just really love this story. I say that about every book that's like my latest book. This was our 10th publication at Lost Island Press, and it was released around the same time as Capsule. This was a re-release of Capsule that was published by Dutch Venture Publishing, so you'll see the logo on the side is different. The formatting inside is also very different, and it's a different trim size. We licensed the rights to DVP to publish Capsule in the Netherlands. They also translated it from English into Dutch. I can't understand a word of this, but they sent me a copy, and I'm just very grateful that it's gotten a chance to reach an entire new audience on the other side of the world. So now I've gone through all 10 books, I believe, that we have published starting in the beginning of 2020 with Leaving Wishville all the way until around May of this year. And I want to tell you a little bit about some of our upcoming books before I close off. So first up we have Deadwood Burning. This is book 2.5 in Julia's Lone Player series. I'll put the cover up here because I don't have a print edition yet. I love how the cover turned out, once again by Mad Book Covers. It's gorgeous, and I cannot wait to format it. I have kind of a system for all of the Lone Player books. So Deadwood Burning is going to be released, let me double check, on October 10th of 2025. After Deadwood Burning, we have one more book coming out this year, which is called Wallbound. And remember how I talked about Capsule and how it was being licensed in the Netherlands? Well, we actually did a licensing swap. They published Capsule in the Netherlands, and this year we are publishing one of their Dutch books in English at Lost Island Press. It's Wallbound. It's a YA dystopian book. The original title is actually Mervast, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. We had some different variants of what the book title might be. One of them was Between Four Walls. We eventually just decided on Wallbound, which is kind of closer to the original Dutch edition, and I think it's really cool. And if you've been following my YouTube channel for a while, you probably know that I have been co-writing a book called Cabin 5 with Laurel Glynn O'Brien. I don't have an official release date for it yet, but pre-orders are open now. As for Deadwood Burning and Wallbound, those are all on the website. So let's talk about next year. We are also planning for Julia's third book in the Lone Player series to be released in 2026. In addition to that, I am working on another spin-off novella. Yes. Is it a bad idea? I don't think so. Will it delay the third book? Just a little bit. I will say I have made massive progress on the third book, which is called Poisonous Remedy. I guess you can consider this the title reveal. I'm hoping to publish both the spin-off novella and Poisonous Remedy next year, but at the very least, I will be publishing the spin-off novella. That book is called Avarium. I've already reached out to Natasha and she is working on the cover. It's going to be in the same style, but obviously it's going to say Avarium up here. It's going to be a different girl on the cover, and that girl is going to be Cal Avarium. And it's really a study on Cal from Everest's perspective. I'm hoping to finish up the plot in a couple of weeks and dive into the drafting process alongside Cabin 5. A little bit crazy, but I will say it's kind of fun to hop between this like old-fashioned fantasy world and Cabin 5, which is like futuristic soft sci-fi. Currently, there is a lot that I have on my plate. Writing the first draft of Cabin 5, working on the plot for Avarium, the copy editing process, about to get started on that with Julia, and I'm wrapping up the final parts of the publication process for Wallbound. What is that, 4 different simultaneous projects? I do think that at the very least I'm going to be producing an audiobook of Capsule to see how that goes. I would actually really love to get your advice if you listen to audiobooks or you're interested in listening to audiobooks. Would you buy an audiobook directly on the Lost Island Press website if you could transfer it to Spotify but not Audible? So here's the thing, if we distribute our audiobook on Audible, Amazon is going to take 75%. Yes, 75%. We would get a 25% royalty. That's kind of crazy, right? But if we sell the audiobooks on our website, we would make close to 90%, which means a lot more money to Lost Island Press and to the authors. And that's why I would love to sell audiobooks directly on our website. The only places you'd be able to listen to the audiobook on would be Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I believe there's some others, but those are the main ones. No Audible if it's on our website. Is that a deal breaker for you? I would love to know. Seriously, leave a comment below. It could affect the choice that we make at Lost Island Press for the distribution of audiobooks. We are hosting finally our 3rd writing contest this year. It has been a while since our 2nd one. So if you are a writer yourself and are interested in potentially being published by Lost Island Press, I highly recommend checking out that video next. I hope you found it interesting to learn a little bit more about the stories behind all of these books. If you liked it, please give this a like, and don't forget to comment about the Spotify audiobook situation. Anyways, that is all for today's video. So until next time, get lost.